we have David Fuhr, who's going to be talking to us about vulnerability analysis and trauma therapy, two very important topics. David, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Leslie. Thanks. Okay, can you hear me okay?
Sound good?
Okay, perfect. So I'll share some slides and let me say evening program. I'm talking to you from Berlin, Germany. So it's almost middle of the night here, which is good, just the perfect time. And I'm glad to be here. Okay, slides should be up now. I hope you can see them. Okay, so this is a pancake. Yes, according to Berliners, this is a pancake. According to everybody else in Germany, who is to be taken seriously at least, this is a Berliner. So almost 6 years ago, the proudest boast was, Ich bin ein Berliner, I am a pancake. Today, in the world of COVID and online connectedness, the proudest boast is, I am at PancakesCon, talking to you live from Berlin. Through a reshuffle of the program, I got some heavy competition. If I were you, I might actually go and watch Lorin Cheryn talk about forensics data and world championship. If my Google skills didn't fail me, she's an SC Magazine Woman in Cybersecurity to Watch of the Year 2019. And unlike me, she's a true world champion. So you should really go and check out her talk either now or maybe when the recordings are there. Okay. So what I brought you today is two topics that are close to my heart, both of them. I changed the title a little bit. Before it was vulnerability analysis, now it's vulnerability management. We'll get to why that distinction is important. And I'll be talking to you both about vulnerability scanning in security and trauma therapy, especially Gestalt therapy. So why am I doing this? So I like to spend my time, focus my attention to borders, to boundaries between different topics. So I come from a tech background. I started with software when I was 9 years old. I have a master's degree, and I'm a trained Gestalt therapist and organizational consultant. So I always try to bring these different topics together, and you always find interesting mixes in between, like security automation is where math can help you to do better, to get better at tech, or math and psychology is when you try to teach machines how to think. And the traditional link between tech and psychology is social engineering, also very, very exciting topic. But when the call for talks for pancakes was up, I had the idea there's another thing that's both in tech and in thinking about the human soul, and that's vulnerabilities, and hence my talk. Behind every pancake, there's a strong team. This is my colleagues as we speak. No, that was the other night working on the Hafnium incident response here in Germany. So hi, everybody. Okay, so what's a vulnerability? Well, there's different definitions. I chose an especially beautiful one. This is from a standard which is otherwise rather useless, the ISO 27032, but it has this nice graphic, and it shows the vulnerability in the middle right, in the center of what security is about. So it's really one thing that you want to consider when thinking about security, and in different ways. So you have stakeholders who need to know what their valuable assets are. They need to evaluate their assets. You have risks stemming from inside or outside threat agents who pose threats to your assets. And when do they do this? When there's a vulnerability in your assets that threatens to reduce the value of your assets, that you're not controlling well enough. Okay, maybe a little bit confusing. We'll get it on an easier level, but this is at the heart what every security program tries to achieve. Get all these different errors and relationships right. Okay. So what do we do when we do vulnerability management? Here's one of those typical management system circles. So there's different steps that you're doing in a defined order, and there's a lot of tasks that you have to do. So you need some kind of system that reminds you or the people responsible when what needs to be done by whom. Today, we're only going to look at a small part of this, a little bit of the pre-work, so the scoping, and then especially the part about assessing vulnerabilities. And you see the scanning as one central element, vulnerability scanning of one tool that you can use to assess vulnerabilities in your or your client's assets. Okay, so what's this scanning thing? Well, you can buy or rent different kinds of scanners. Some are better known, some are more niche products. So here's some examples. It's not a complete list by any means. There's Nessus by Tenable, it's quite well known, and there's different other vendors: Qualys, Rapid7, Trustwave. There's even a free one, open source one, OpenVAS, and there's lots more. I'm going to use Nessus as an example today, not because I'm endorsing them, but it's the scanner that I've been using the most in my career. So yeah, for me it's easiest to talk about Nessus, but you could use any of these products actually. So what does a scanner do? Okay, I try to find a metaphor for this. So imagine somebody built a sandcastle, or you build a sandcastle somewhere on the beach, yeah? Or maybe different people build sandcastles spread out across the beach. And then somebody comes, a kid or anybody, and starts throwing things at these sandcastles, random things. So what would they throw? They would throw air, they would throw a hair, they would throw a hydrogen atom, an oxygen atom. They would throw lots and lots and lots of things, and most of those things wouldn't hurt the castle. Eventually, they're really clueless what they should throw, so they just try everything they can find. Eventually, they try a stone, and the stone manages to destroy a little bit of that sandcastle. And then they learn something about that sandcastle. Oops, this sandcastle is vulnerable to stones. Well, now you can say, well, they should have known before. They could have, but vulnerability scanning is really being stupid about what might work and what wouldn't. And you throw lots and lots and lots of things, 99.9% of them were useless and ridiculous that somebody would even try this at a number of targets, and just take note what happens. Nothing, 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 nothing. Oops. So what do you get out? A long list of nothings and a few oopses. And of course, the oopses is your vulns, and that's what you're interested about. Okay, so a modern vulnerability scanner can cover tens of thousands of CVEs, so known vulnerabilities. They can have more than 100,000 of plugins or whatever they call them. So that's little descriptions of what you could try throwing, what object, in what way, and what reaction you would expect, and how to interpret if you don't get a reaction A, but reaction B back. So that's like your little tests, and you want lots of them. The more, the better, because it gets you more coverage in breadth, what works and what doesn't on a given target. And of course, you want that current. So they should update these plugins, should give you new ones as often as possible, because there's new products, new software, new applications, and new vulnerabilities discovered every day worldwide. So you want your scanner to try and recognize these new vulns as well. So the inside of a scanner can look something like this. This is a version of Nessus, for example. So basically, there's not so many things in here. On the left-hand side, you see you have your scans, and then you have customizations like policies, rules, reports, and so on. And for the scans, you can have different types depending on what you want to scan, what kind of assets, and also what you want from your report, what it is for. Is it a compliance report? Possibly. Then it needs to have a certain form, or it needs to cover certain things, certain tests. Or should it be more aggressive, less aggressive? Do you want to tweak it to the last detail, or do you want to try something standard out of the box? So there's a lot of templates you can choose from usually, and in my experience, you end up having your favorite handful that you're using for most projects. Okay. So when you want to do a scan, the most important thing you have to fill out or import from a file is your targets. So this is the scoping. So the scanner needs to know where to throw all these things, what objects, what assets to test. So in here in this field, you will put a range of IP addresses, or one IP address, or a domain name. And here you really need to be careful to enter the correct ones, because you do not want to test somebody else's assets where you didn't get permission to do so. Yeah. So this is one thing where you need to, when you're a consultant, for example, to have an agreement with your client. Better get it in written in some form. Okay, these IP ranges are cleared to be scanned, and you need to make sure the right numbers and symbols go in here, and you don't mix it up on the way. Okay. Other than that, there's a number of configurations that you can do. I will just talk about very few, because this could be another talk of 3, 4, 5 hours. Credentials. So you can give credentials to a scanner, and this might feel a little bit strange for security-minded people. Usually, you don't want to give hacker tools credentials, because they should find those credentials for you, or break them, or brute force them, or whatever. But here, the thinking is the other way around. So the scanner is your friend. So they want to get as much information as possible from those hundreds and thousands of throwings that they do. So you better help them do it. And if you can enter credentials for the machines you're scanning, be it Windows or be it SSH in the Linux Unix world, you make it easier for a scanner to throw its tests. So once you have an account on the machine and the scanner can use it, it's much easier, it's faster, and also they can use more of the plugins, more of the tests. So you get better data. So you want this. It's good practice not to use an account that has a privilege to write important things. So if you can have something like an unprivileged account, either read-only, depending on the use case, or just something that is just enough to get out the information that you need, but cannot alter your system or destroy the configuration, the better. This is what you want. Okay, so what do you get out in the end? A list, basically, a long list. Well, depending on your target, could be short, but in typical cases, you get long lists of vulnerabilities. And these lines are vulns, every line is a vuln. It's structured data, so you have different fields like the severity. That's probably the most important one. This is a ranking that the scanner has, well, not hard-coded, but it's in the scanner's database. So the scanner knows nothing about your application, nothing about what's in there, what kind of data, how critical is the application per se. What it knows is, in a typical application, a vuln like this could be critical for typical use cases, something like that. Yeah? So this is where the rating comes from. And then you have counts and you have cross references. Where was it found? How often? In what assets? And so on and so on. And these lists can be really long. So you need some kind of summaries. And one is here on the right-hand side. You just count how many critical, high, medium, low info vulns were found. So these kind of dashboard-like things. And this is a report. They call this a report. But oftentimes, this is not what you want to give your customers. So if you just give them a list of 250 vulnerabilities of different severities, they will not know. Most customers will not know what to do with it. So usually, it's a good idea to process it even more to get, for example, to the root cause. If there's 100 vulns that all go back to the organization not patching correctly, then this is the real find. I mean, you should put all the data, what was found, in the appendix for sure. Yeah, but for them, the operationalized data is more important. So what steps do they need to take to make this long list get shorter, especially in the red areas? Okay. And if you want to dive into one of these vulns or report lines, then you can see exactly what the scanner did. So it tried this and that, got that and that result back. That's why it was reported. It happened on port X and host Y. So better scanners even give you advice how to fix this thing for at least for a large number of vulnerabilities. Okay. One last thing maybe for the configuration. So there's basically two use cases for a scanner to use. Either you can use it just to scan one host or one application, one IP, one domain, and then you know what your asset is, and then you basically decide how hard you want to go. So there's more aggressive and less aggressive settings. So for example, if this is something in industrial security, you might want to be more careful and not throw all the tests to an asset, because you have to think about what might go wrong. On the other hand, if this is a web application that is on the internet, on the World Wide Web anyways, and anybody can just try anything, then it shouldn't crumble when somebody comes and says this is aggressive. So if it fails, then you want to know, right? So this is the aggressiveness. But then there's also when you have a big network to scan. So in internal audits, or when you're as a consultant, you're called to do an internal network audit. You might run Nessus or another scanner across a whole subnet, B class, C class. Yeah. So there's lots of assets, and you don't know in advance how many there will be and in what IPs, because maybe the organization doesn't have current data that they can really rely on. So part of your assignment is to find out what they have, what assets are there, what's online, and then you need to think about discovery, because if you try and throw these 150,000 plugins at every port and every IP that there is in the subnet, you wouldn't get finished. So there's some smart choices the scanner makes. So it doesn't make sense to throw FTP tests, say, at ports that are never used by FTP. And there's lots of these things. But you also have to think about how can I find out where there is active hosts and active ports at all. So this would be another talk, how you do this efficiently and reliably. So this is about port scanning, but the vulnerability scanners have built-in port scanners. And there you can try to hit a sweet spot between efficiency. So you don't want to try everything everywhere, because that's going to take forever. But you don't want to miss a host just because you tried ports 443, 80, and 23, and it didn't answer. So this is a little bit something you have to get a feeling for what makes sense, and it definitely depends on the network you're testing. Okay, yeah, I think I said this. So there's different levels of aggressiveness also in the port scanning, but especially in the vuln scanning. So in the plugins. Yeah. Okay. One last thing for this topic. One nice little thing that you can do when you get out these long lists, say 200, 300, 400 vulns, and you don't have any tools, any process, any year-long experience how to process this for a customer. One nice thing you can do is export the report as a CSV file, pull it into Microsoft Excel or Open Office if you want, and build a pivot table. Now this is something a lot of people seem to hate. For me, maybe because I'm a mathematician, pivot table is one of the loveliest inventions in the history of IT. So what it basically does, it takes a long list, much too long and boring for humans to read. So in the lower left corner, that's our way too long list, and then it aggregates this list dynamically. So you can change the order and type of aggregation, and do sums and averages and means and whatnot of things. And thereby, with just a couple of clicks, you get your long list of 400 vulns to a really short list, depending on how much your customer needs. So this is really, oops, now my screen is not, okay, I'm back, okay. So you can really choose what you want to show them, just the top vulns or the sum or per year, per IP range, per country, whatever. So so you can basically build your reports just by doing a couple of clicks in Excel and Co. Coming to the second topic. So this is at this moment, this is quite of a jump, but we'll try it anyways. So we're still talking about vulnerabilities, this time in the human soul. So as I said, I'm a trained Gestalt therapist, and I'm not going to say anything, unfortunately, due to time constraints about Gestalt today. I would love to talk to you about it for half of today and tonight. I'm just going to show you a few things that were developed in Gestalt and some related fields of psychology. So this is the Gestalt Wave, and it's a model that tries to explain how the human soul works. And you can do it with an example of food. So when you're hungry, it's not on off. So what really happens is you have a sensation, something's strange. You don't know what it is yet. You have to get aware at first. Oh, I think I might be hungry, and then you need to find something where to point your awareness. Okay, hungry, hungry. Ah, there was this picture of this Berliner pancake that David had in his talk, and then you have your target. But then you need the next step. You need mobilization. You need to build up enough energy to really stand up, go outside. Well, if you can, it's not locked down. Get moving and really buy, steal, or bake this pancake, this Berliner. So this is called a contact. So you have to do it. You have to make contact with the outside world. It takes the most energy. And then you're not done yet, because you still need to eat it. You need to bite it. So you need some kind of aggression. It's a positive thing in Gestalt. And then you need to chew and you need to swallow. And then you need to digest it. And then you're still not done, because it takes a while until this feeling of hunger, now we know it was hunger, can calm down and your energy goes to a lower level. The wave is over and there's space and energy for a new wave. And our life is just lots and lots of these waves. Some are overlapping, some are finished, some are not, because at every point in this wave, something can go wrong. And I'm saying this in quotes because in Gestalt, we don't like to think about right or wrong. This is because these are powerful concepts that can have a very a negative effect on people. So what we try to say things like, in every step of this wave, something can go with too much energy or too little energy, too much, too little, compared to the normal, and it's all good. Yeah, you get through the curve, but you might not be fully satisfied in the end, or you might not be calm in the end. Just one example: you don't find out that it is a pancake that you want, although I showed it to you, but you forgot, or you didn't see my talk. And then you just go outside and you grab the first thing that crosses you, and that's an apple. And you bite that apple and you think, okay, it's nice. Yeah, will get me satisfied. You chew, you swallow, and then you're still sitting there. Something is not right. Something is not right. And it's okay, you didn't starve, but the problem is this takes up a little bit of your energy. And now remember, we said there's hundreds, thousands, millions of these waves throughout your lives. And anytime a wave doesn't run through smoothly, a little bit of your energy can be caught in it. And this is what happens necessarily. Life doesn't run smooth. And Gestalt is a way of thinking about these things, thinking about theories also, but more about practices. How to get this running smoother? How to close Gestalts, so there's forms. That's where the name comes from. Okay, because I should move my window so I can see this beautiful slide that I found in the preparation for this talk. I didn't know it before, by Nick Helbig. Because what happens is not only that these waves are feeding us and allowing us to live. It's basically the definition of life, right? But the very process of going through these waves defines ourselves. So according to Gestalt, there is no self apart from contact with the outer world and the inner world. So hunger is contact with our own body, and the pancake or the apple is contact with the outer world. So we go in these circles, and we have contacts that are realized, that happen, and contacts that are avoided, for example, that we avoid by different mechanisms, and there's a ton of these mechanisms. For example, desensitization. So I just don't feel I'm hungry. That would be one example. Yeah. Blame would be another one. Okay, I only think about somebody else. It's somebody else's fault. I don't think about myself at all. Or the opposite. I don't even get to thinking about anybody else. It's just me. It's just my fault. This would be called retroflexion, for example. Yeah. But what happens is these boundaries between the inner and outer world, and what happens at those boundaries, the name is contact. This is what defines us in the Gestalt model. So this is really where we live in the true sense of the word. So it's not how we live, but this is what we are, how we deal with our boundaries. And now different things can go wrong. I'm gonna go back one slide. So we had this example with the apple. So that was contrived. But what usually happens is that we get into patterns somewhere. So well, let's talk about whatever. Somebody has this feeling of, okay, there is something I should get moving. I need something. I don't know yet what it is. And there is awareness. Okay, I know. Okay, I know what it is. I want to do a talk. I want to do a public talk, and I even get moving. So I bring up the energy. I want to talk at PancakesCon. So I fill out the form. I have an idea, and then I get into action and send the form. And when it comes to the contact phase, then maybe in my past I have learned that it's a dangerous thing to make that contact, to do this aggression. Maybe I got punished in another phase in my life for trying too much. Maybe it wasn't well received in my family, that I was courageous, for example, that I wanted to try new thing. And then I might have learned that this is not a good idea. And then I might retract my talk that even got accepted and not do it, because this is right now the way I learned it, and I feel safer doing it that way. And this is okay, and we'll get to this. This is okay, and this has served that somebody well. We also get to this, but what it does not serve for is getting through this curve fully, and so that person might not find out what it feels like to get to the end of that kind of curve. And we all do this in one way or another, most of the time in several ways. So we don't have these curves, but we have waves that have waves in between, and we get stuck and we retry and we run circles. And this is all normal. When the patterns are very, very strong, so you really get caught by it again and again and again, and the old term for that is neurosis. So Gestalt doesn't use that term because it's like a box, and we don't like to put people in boxes. But if you want to use that old language, then Gestalt is a way, tries to get these old neuroses, these patterns moving, and then you don't even know what comes next. That's the point, because you haven't tried, usually for good reasons. And sometimes people get to a point in their life where they feel, I don't know, I'm stuck. Now I would like to try something new. Back to here. And then there's more extreme cases, and again, we don't use boxes here. So I put the term trauma on my title slide. Trauma means an injury, so it's an injury of the soul. But actually, it's not black or white, one or zero either. So we're all injured, we're all vulnerable, and we've all been hurt in life. It happens in life, and sometimes the injuries are so deep, like indents in this into this self. So maybe somebody disrespected our borders so strongly that there is a scar in here, or a deep indent that that led us to reorganizing everything inside in a way that we could still go on living. And this can be called a trauma. And again, we don't have much time, so I cannot tell you much about trauma therapy today. But what I want to say is there is proven methods of positively working with trauma. And one example would be EMDR. So that's eye desensitization and reprocessing. Not even going to say much how it works. You can easily look that up. But somebody, I don't know who they are here, Headspace, they made an analogy with IT. So I stole this. So before in the traumatized state, PTSD, this is one of those a diagnosis that quite a few people carry around. The brain is like a computer with a virus in this analogy. Yeah, it's oversimplified by a lot. But for the sake of the argument and to get a link between those two topics, we'll go with the metaphor. And then you do some kind of work, and here it works with it's a very guided process with bodily functions, so with the eyes and with the mind and with feelings, bringing all these things together. And what the theory says, what it does, and you can even measure this with images of brain activity. Something in your brain is reordered. So things that were separate before, that needed to be separate because it wasn't bearable to get them in touch, can start communicating again. And oftentimes this helps people a great deal, and there's a number of studies. And if you're interested in it, you can look it up. EMDR, either at Headspace or many other sources. So you can work with this with this traumata, and can is the important word here, because I tried, because this was really just a tiny little bit of Gestalt, and I tried to distill for you like the 6, 7, what do I have here, truths. Again, we don't like that word, but like, what would I like to show you from Gestalt, not just concerning trauma therapy, but in general. So and here's my best of list. So if we're living patterns, they were learned for a good reason, and good needs to be underscored here, and it's usually to protect us, because it was protecting us in the past. And this worked well. It doesn't feel like this usually, but it worked well. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here today. Yeah? So some people even get to the point where they learn to some respect, some like, some even love their patterns sometimes. Well, it won't always work. Once you realize, okay, wow, you strange thing that's been torturing me for years and decades, you're here for a reason, and the reason is you saved my life, something like that. And if there's resistance, or you don't want to talk about, you don't want to know, we don't want therapy, and so on, or me, talk about me as well. This is a good thing because it means not yet, not yet. Again, a protector. Those patterns can and often have negative side effects for our lives today. So there are good reasons why somebody would choose to face them sometimes, yeah. But you don't have to now or tomorrow or next year or ever. For myself, I found it fruitful to know the soul or self or whatever you want to call it knows when it's time to deal with things. So the soul is quite a competent thing inside. So we don't need to control it too much. So things will pop up when it's time for them to pop up and for us to deal with them. And when you start going on a journey like this, then usually feeling worse a lot and for a while and for a longer while is a normal thing. So this is not a warning. This is okay. This is a normal side effect of getting things moving and mixed up and stirred up. And you might have to go through there before things can settle again in a totally different way. And this is the most surprising thing. You don't know before what will come out of it. So this is really the wonder of it. So you don't need a goal or where to go because you cannot know anyways. It's going to be something completely different that you might not even have thought about ever. Last thing, when choosing a therapist or therapy, because I get asked this a lot, people get asked this a lot. Okay, what therapist should I choose? How do I know somebody is right for me? Yeah, easy answer. Once you accept it, it's easy. Trust your heart, because again, you know, or the other way around. Try imagining you know if it's right or not, and see what happens. Okay. So that's about the end of my talk. If you want to connect, I'd be happy on the standard social media. I have a research blog running at High Solutions. So far, it's mostly in German, but we've started to move it over to English slowly. So if you don't know German, check back in a year maybe. So then you'll find what we do. And if you're interested in Gestalt, there's lots of resources online. I'd be happy if I got you interested in this really important topic. One US-based resource is the Cleveland Institute. They do good work, and if you want to know more, you can also contact me in either of these. Thank you. Oh, I have a last quote. All humans, wherever they may live, are Berliners, pancakes. Therefore, as a free man, I take pride in the words, I did a PancakesCon talk. Thanks.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I think we have time for like one question, if that's okay. Jay wants to know if there's any dynamic application security testing tools out there that work well for WebSockets.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. It's not my specialty.
Okay, that's fair.
Sorry.
Thank you. There's a few more questions in chat if you'd like to chat with some folks.
Yeah,
they have a little bit more complex, in-depth questions. So.
Cool. I'll hop over to the Slack and stick around.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. This was a fascinating talk and really two subjects I knew next to nothing about. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Leslie. Okay. Bye, everybody.